Welcome to the Rated Rabbi Sports Card Podcast, where sports cards and pop culture meet the 1984 All-Star Game. I am your host, Rabbi David Spinrad. Welcome to episode number 30. Fat is in. As we begin, I want to give a special shout out to Terry TJ Mac Vintage, who raised up that collecting idea I brought forth before, that in the end what we collect is ourselves. Check him out on his channel, TJ Mac Vintage. Last Friday's episode, he talked about that idea and brought that thought forward to a new place. What do you think about that, you loyal listener or viewer? Do you believe that in the end what we collect is ourselves? Because, my gosh, I do. Right? I think you can tell a lot about a person when you figure out why they collect. You have a sense of who they are. When we figure out why we collect, we definitely have a sense of who we are. Once we've got the why, I'm interested in the how. Who? Last. Why? Leads to how. So you tell me, right? Why do you collect? For me, I love the creativity. I love the discipline. I love that it's a chance to create something that is like a fingerprint. Like my collection is an expression of me. It would be impossible for us to ever have the exact same collection unless we listened to somebody else and collected what they told us to collect. Special welcome to some new subscribers, new viewers who came over after Terry mentioned my channel on his show. Welcome. I have Rated Rabbi stickers for you. I got lots of them. Let me know if you want in the comments, and I will be happy to drop one in the mail to you. If you're listening on Apple or Spotify, please take a second to rate and review. If you're on YouTube, like, comment, and subscribe. And, actually is way cooler than that is tell somebody. If you think this is fun, just mention it to somebody. I don't need a ton of subscribers. I just need some cool people who want to geek out on random 80s sports and pop culture. So we're getting started here, but I want to mention I got a mail day. Had a segment in last Monday's podcast where I talked about Crazy George, who invented the wave, October 15th, 1981. Yankees hosting the A's hosting the Yankees in the American League Championship Series Game 3. The inventor was Crazy George Anderson, and I picked up an Allen and Ginter 2017 Crazy George. I love that, right? This card now has a story. So right here next to me at Rated Rabbi headquarters, I have every card I've ever shown in an episode. If you're on the podcast, I have stacks of cards in top loaders held by rubber bands, episodes 1 through 5, 6 through 10, stacks of cards for every episode, so I can always go back and remember the cards I looked at and the stories I've told, and just kind of add an extra layer to my nerdiness. I can never have enough. So what are you doing at National? I know some of you are going. I'm going. I am psyched. What's your strategy? You got something going. You're thinking about it. What's the card? If you could get one card, right? Fill in the blank. If I could get one card at the National that would make me feel like, what would it be? I've been hunting a 52 Mays now since like last September or October. And I'm looking for that perfect nexus between high eye appeal and low grade. I think the card I want is what like a lot of people want. Something with reasonable centering. Although I don't mind if it's a little heavy on the left, because his portrait is kind of tilted. The movement actually brings you that way. I can't have it too much the other way. I can't have it heavy on the right, because that creates dissonance between the right border and how he's looking to his right and my left. That would be the perfect card for me, the 52 Mays, but I'm not going to push it. Right? I'm not going to push it. I want fewer and better, and sometimes that means fewer and longer between buys, but I'm not going for 100%. If I can get 80-20 of fewer and better, and then the other 20%, I pick up some 2010, 2012, 2014, San Francisco Giants, World Series, or maybe it's 11, 13, 15. Do you want the year they did it or the year after they did it? There's different schools of thought about that. Adam K is an after they did the special accomplishment achievement. I'm oftentimes the year that they did it. I wouldn't mind picking up some Giants or some Nick Bosa. That's right. Favorite player, favorite position, favorite team, NFL Defensive Player of the Year. And I come by golds out of 10. I picked up a 2021 Optic Gold out of 10 for $15. I know it's not a quarterback, but oh my God, dude! Like, if you're buying some of these quarterbacks at those prices, I would love to pick up a Trey Lance. But what moron is buying Trey Lance cards right now? He's clearly not as good as Purdy and has never proven that he can stay on the field. People are spending hundreds. It's like throwing away your money. Not my business, But I will say that as an essentialist sports card collector, as important to me as what I will buy is what I won't buy. As you think about what you want out of the National, it's fun to make a little list of, do not buy. What won't you be doing? You don't have to be 100% about it. 80-20, 85-15, something like that. If you can get it right, what won't you buy? What happens is you'll have the funds and you'll be able to buy the card that you really want. We know what yes feels like. Yes is big and bright, like, you can feel it, right? And then we've also you're forcing it. You lose patience, or you got to have a little sports card fix. That's why you should have a little low-end collection, that 15, 20%, the cheapies, something that's fun and meaningful. Like, I would love to get a little raw 1978 Topps All-Star with the shield. Fine, a couple bucks here and there, get the fix, but keep the lion's share of my card budget for cards that matter, like that 52 Topps Willie Mays. All right. My wife, Mrs. Rated Rabbi, I love her very much. She's my best friend. She's got my back. She would help me hide the bodies. She catches me listening to my my podcast sometimes. Sweetheart, are you listening to yourself on your podcast? I say, yeah. Don't you think that's a little narcissistic? And I'm like, what? But I love the content. Like, if I was gonna make a podcast, like, that's what I would make. So I went ahead and made it. So of course I like to listen to it. It's fun. It's about the hobby. It's got a little philosophy, spirituality. It's just good vibes. So yeah, I do listen to it. And I do listen back to all the episodes, usually more than once, to be honest. And I was listening to this last episode, and one of the things I've noticed is I frequently will misspeak. I periodically will give you factually incorrect information. And de vez en cuando, from time to time, I will completely omit important segments of the pod. So last episode, episode 29, remember, was called Almost Dave Stieb. And I talked about that fine line between being an unforgettable, iconic player and completely forgotten. And for some players, it's just like a few little twists of fate, and no player embodies those twists of fate more than Dave Stieb. And I actually left off two major examples of how close Stieb comes to baseball immortality, and unfortunately, he's mostly forgotten. So 1985 is the first year the Major League Baseball goes from 5 to 7 games in his championship series. From 69, the first year of the LCS, through 84, it was best of 5. 1985, it goes best of 7. Toronto has a good year. They make it to the ALCS. Stieb is the man. He's their Game 1 starter. He's their Game 4 starter. He's their Game 7 starter. Toronto comes out strong and they go up 3-1. Stieb gets the win in Game 1. Has some control trouble, but Tom Henke comes in and he gets the win in Game 4. They're up 3-1 over KC. But KC comes storming back. Oh my God. George Brett has a monster series. Game 6, he hits his 3rd home run of the LCS off of this guy. Remember this guy, Doyle Alexander. We'll come back to him in the 87 season where he plays a key role in our episode. Brett hits the home run. KC ties it 3 games apiece. Game number 7, Stieb on the hill, and he gets beat down 2-1. I think it's the 6th. Gives up a bases loaded triple to Jim Sumberg. Man, imagine the catcher motoring, clears the bases. KC goes up 5-1. They go on to win 6-1. They go on to beat the Cardinals in the World Series, the Don Denkinger World Series. Oh my gosh. 1987, the second near miss. Dave Stieb, instead of unforgettable, is forgotten. Toronto's having a monster year. George Bell, the outfielder, is going to be your AL MVP. Stieb and Toronto having a heck of a season. There's a week to go. 7 games after 155 games. Toronto is 99 wins. And what is that? 56 defeats. 7 games to go. I'd completely forgotten about this. Toronto loses the last 7 games. They have 99 wins with a week to go, and they finish the season with 99 wins. They lose in the final weekend in a particularly ignoble fashion, getting swept at Detroit by eventual division winner, the Detroit Tigers. KC, Toronto, man, 85 and 87. Dave Stieb. If Dave Stieb would have had those no-hitters, the perfect game, a World Series appearance, maybe 2 World Series appearances, the hardware from those Cy Youngs, but just misses. Man, oh manimal. Okay. I got 2 more pieces before we move on to our next topic. First thing, I want to circle back on Doyle Alexander. Alexander is pitching in 1987 for the Atlanta Braves, and he gets traded in 87. Who does Alexander get traded for in 87? You know this. He gets traded for John Smoltz, right? A prospect. Who? John Smoltz. Doyle Alexander is balling, and the Tigers are trying to make a run at it. So everyone's like, oh my God, what a horrible trade, right? The Tigers traded away John Smoltz for Doyle Alexander. It's like a butt of a joke. Smoltz was a Hall of Famer and a damn fine broadcaster. But the thing is, though, you know what? Doyle Alexander balls out after he goes to Detroit. So yeah, John Smoltz is a Hall of Famer, but did you know that after Doyle Alexander gets traded from Atlanta to Detroit, he has one heck of a season? Let me give you the numbers. Starts 11 games after being traded on the 12th of August, 1987. 11 starts. He goes 9-0. with a 1.53 ERA, a 1.00 whip. 11 starts, he accounts for 4.4 WAR. You're trying to get to the postseason. How many prospects fail? You know what they say, there's no such thing as a pitching prospect. You no way you could have known. You're loving it if you're Detroit that year. A guy goes 9-0 with a 1.53. He finishes 4th in the Cy Young. He only starts 11 games in the AL, finishes 4th in the Cy Young behind Clemens, Jimmy Key, the lefty from Toronto, and Dave Stewart from the A's. Finishes 4th in the Cy Young, even gets some MVP votes. Doyle Alexander in the American League finishes 13th in the MVP. Last little note about Dave Stieb and all things Blue Jays. Had he won it all, had he been an unforgettable, this card and this hairdo, we'd remember. Check out this hair. That is feathered hair, my friends. Look at that gorgeous 1981 Fleer. Looks like Dunedin, Florida, or wherever the Blue Jays did spring training in 81. Look at that beautiful part right down the middle. A picture of youth, Dave Stieb. Late 70s, early 80s, very fashionable hairstyle. I never had the wave. I had like the thick, kind of wavy Jewish hair. I never got to have that cool guy with the middle part feathered hair. I bet you Kenny V had feathered hair. You know, Kenny V had a mullet. I know you listen, Kenny. You know you did. You know you had a mullet, and I'll bet you $1, man. I know you did. You had to have feathered hair. You were cool. All right. Let's take one more look at feathered hair before we move on to our next segment. 1986, James Spader rocking the feathered hair in Pretty in Pink. Look at the look. He's got the white jacket with an aqua shirt, collar pop. James Spader, always just a bad guy, like a bad boy. You know, just like, you're a dick, Spader. Oh, man. Never had feathered hair. That was strictly for the cool kids. I had a part on the side, my Jufro, ride my Huffy bike. Feathered-haired kids rode BMX, man, and Mongoose and Redline. That's like heavy Huffy that my mom and dad got me at Toys R Us, man. Never the cool kid. Huffy bike. They had the Mongoose. They were rocking Nikes and Adidas. I had the pony shoes from, what was that shoe? Athletic Shoe Factory in Petaluma. Man, not a cool kid. Wanted the Izod, the alligator. I got the freaking cheetah from Mervin's, man. Side part, Huffy bike, pony sneakers, and the cheetah from Mervin's. Never the cool kid. All right, I want to roll it back. Last time I was talking about that chasm between the narrow margin of greatness and the chasm between Cal Ripken and Buddy Biancalana, and that took me back mid-'80s. Buddy Biancalana, I always had a spot for him. Redwood High in Marin. I think the Royals might have drafted Biancalana number 1 in their, not number 1 overall, but with the number 1 pick in the draft. Good defensive player. Really, really not much of a hitter. Wins the job in 85, beats out Onyx Concepcion, has a great World Series against the Cardinals, goes 5 for 18, 5 walks, plays really strong defense, and he's got a World Series ring. But what do I remember Buddy Biancalana the most for? Probably the same thing as you if you're listening to this. I'm going to show this for my viewers at home. It's a little bit small, but you can see that is the Late Night with David Letterman, a Buddy Biancalana Hit Counter, released in the summer of 1985. Dave's having some fun. Pete Rose is chasing Ty Cobb. There it shows him at 4,180 hits. Next to it, Biancalana with 11. I don't know if that was a real number, but he has this great little riff on Biancalana, chasing Pete Rose and chasing Ty Cobb. And Biancalana's a sport. After the season, he goes on Letterman, has a good time with it, man. Buddy Biancalana, short career, mostly with the Royals, out of baseball, I think in 87. Buddy's not my favorite all-time Letterman sports guest. That would be, who else? I'm going to tell you. You remember this guy? You remember Terry Forster? Oh, big fella. Fat is in his right, Terry Forster. I love this guy, man. Hey, this guy was a baller. Let's talk about Terry Forster. So Letterman does a riff on him and calls him, among other things, a fat tub of goo. And it captures all these headlines. Kind of not cool, the fat shame. But back then, we just made fun of things and hurt people, and it was okay. Now, like, wow, maybe that's going to hurt his feelings. The thing was, like, and I was a fat kid. I got my feelings hurt many times, you know? All the euphemisms in the world couldn't save me, you know. Husky, stout. Nah, man. Own that word. Own that word, F-A-T. And Terry Forster owns it. Goes on Letterman. Check this out. I'm going to add this to the stream. There he is, the guest on Letterman, rocking the cool guy members only jacket. Another cool guy thing. Again, did I have members only? Of course not. This like knockoff like Porsche Carrera, probably also from Mervin's or for Ross. But look at Forster rocking the members only on Letterman. Has a great time. He totally owns it. And he takes it and has fun with it, makes fun of himself, makes fun of Letterman, is super body positive. They make a music video. Forster's like, this is my moment in the sun. Has a great time with it. The music video is called Fat Is In. I'll leave a note for you in the show notes. There's actually some kind of like some sexy Zaftig ladies that kind of not too bad. Like, I'll be honest, I don't like to feel rib cages. But Forster has a good time. Probably it's like his biggest moment in the sun, a sense of humor. Man, so before I was a rabbi, for many, many years, I was a personal trainer. And Letterman says he weighs 300 pounds. The back of Forster's card, which let's not give him a hard time. We don't tell the honest weight on our driver's licenses. Forster's says he's 6'3", 6'3", 210 pounds. 6'3" is a big dude, right? 6'3" is like not quite Magnum height, but you're strapping. So let's look at Forster here. Look at his stomach. He's got pretty thick legs. Morphologically, I'm guessing he has a tiny butt, but I can't see. I'm going to put him at 285, 287, drawn on my prior professional skills, but this dude was good. He was taken in the draft. Very body positive, this whole thing at Terry Forster, going back and remembering it. So he's taken in the 1970 draft, second round by the White Sox. He's 19 years old when he debuts, has a damn fine career. Twice saves 20 or more games. 1974, the left-hander leads the American League in saves. 1981, wins a World Series. But did you know, or do you remember, that Forster was a great hitter? Had 5 pinch hit appearances. Didn't have a huge number of at-bats. I think 78 at-bats in his career, but in his at-bats, he hits a career high, a major league record high, 397. Terry Forster has the major league record for highest career batting average for a player with 50 or more at-bats or who played 15 or more seasons. Terry Forster, the all-time highest batting average in major league history at 397. Whew. All right, let's get back to the game. Stieb on the hill, bottom of the second, facing Strawberry, and they battle back and forth, fouling off pitches. Count is 2-2, and I don't know what Strawberry was looking for, but Stieb just grooves one right down the middle, a fastball. It's on the outer half of the plate, but Straw is frozen. Called third strike, one away. Up steps Gary Carter. Stieb falls behind the kid, 2 balls and 1 strike, and just hangs a slider. And this short little quick Gary Carter just jacks it out to left into the seats. You know how the seats, they circle out. So if you hit to left center, it bounces between the seats and the cyclone fence. But there, it's probably like 20 feet off the line. Carter just yanks it into the seat. They show his wife all jumping up and celebrating in the stands. Home run, National League. The kid, Gary Carter, a solo shot. NL leads 2-1. Ozzie Smith comes up next on 1-2. Gets jammed. Hits a little bouncer or dribbler to Lou Whitaker for 2 away. And then the crowd erupts. Why? It's time for Chili Davis. Chili Davis going to pinch hit, representing the Giants, going to pinch hit for Charlie Lee. Takes his time, right? The players let him have his moment as a representative of the home team. You're excited. Your guys to the plate. What does Chili do? First pitch. Come on, Chili, take a pitch. Take 2. Get 2 calls straight. Come on, work the count a little bit. Swings at the first pitch. He's hitting from the left side against the righty Stieb. It's still weak little looping, blooping, kind of like you could have barehanded it at the third. George Brett, has the decency not to show up. Chili uses his glove. Side retired, but they do pick up a run. Go ahead on Carter's solo shot. Ahead 2-1 going to the top of the third. We cut to commercials, and I just want to show you one of them. There it is. Get your hands on a Chevrolet the competition can't touch. That is the Camero Z-28, a cool guy car, a uncircumcised guy named Rick dating my teenage daughter kind of car, if ever I saw one. Will you look at that Camaro? That's so cool. You know who drove a Camaro? You know who drove a Camaro? The guy with the parted hair in the middle, right? Like Dave Stieb. And the guy like Terry Forster rocking that members-only jacket. Me? No. I had a Ford Fairlane from my grandma that she bought off her boyfriend, Maury. I always wanted a Camaro, man. Look at that car. Just snarfy. Cool looking. So they didn't run so well, but man, you looked good at the shop. All right, it's time to wrap things up. We had a fun time. Special thanks to new subscribers, new watchers of the channel. We revisited a couple other forgotten memories of Dave Stieb's brush with immortality. Instead, his destiny is mortality. We talked about Doyle Alexander, a little Buddy Biancalana Hit Counter. Took us to my favorite sports guest of all time on Letterman, Terry Forster, body positive, fat is in, baby. Talked about feathered hair. Gary Carter hit a solo home run to go up 2-1 on the American League. And we wrapped it up with that cool guy car. The parted hair, the members only, the Camero Z-28. Got a special episode coming up for you Friday with the All-Star break upon us. Join me on Friday. Maybe we'll talk about tonight's home run derby. We'll talk about the game. If you're watching the game tomorrow, riddle me this, Batman. Tell me the best part isn't the players being introduced and lining up. The game's usually not that fun, but the pregame introductions, the best of the best. So in honor of the All-Star game and All-Star week, before I head out on my own All-Star break, I want to do a greatest hits episode. I want to go back tomorrow and show you my All-Star segments, although I'm not going to clip it and splice it together like a knockoff cheap version of Happy Days when you were a kid and they dog you by showing you little spliced up greatest hits. I'm going to go back and tell the stories again. Not all of them, 4 or 5, just my favorites. Tune in. That way, if you're just catching up, you don't have to watch them all. Like, hey, these are the best ones. All right, y'all. Thank you so much for joining me. I will see you on Friday. Until we meet again, may you be blessed and may you enjoy health and good life and long life. So long for now.